All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live. And today I am planning to cover some aspects of the GitlabMX application where we will first install the. All right. Hello, everyone. So I think the audio is correct. I was uh, trying to check that. Right. So we will install a UI library along with Tailwind CSS, and I figured out that Daisy UI is a free UI library which can do the job. So we will use that. We will install it, and then we will look at how we can get some basic communication with GitLab started using Saloon PHP. So yeah, that's the pretty much target that we are going to do. I will try to keep this video to about 45 minutes or so, because beyond that, right, it still becomes a bit difficult for me to continue with the video, sitting at one stretch because of my recent shoulder fracture. But yeah, I have a feeling that within 45 minutes we would be able to capture a lot, not 44 hours. All right, so let's see what we have. um, let's do a quick recap of what we have done in our last video. So I'll go into my tests folder and see what the files are. So I can obviously see that there is this example test, which I think I should now get rid of. It's not a important file anymore. Where is the delete? Yeah. And then we have a page test, we have project listing. So if we run our page, the test suite, right? I will do that again. PA test. PA stands for PHP Artisan, by the way. So yes, we are looking at that it shows homepage. It shows the project listing page. I just figured out that the it is kind of getting duplicated. So why don't we um, remove that? Right. So because we are using the it function, it automatically appends it. So yeah. So we are looking at a valid 200 status code for our these two pages. Then we have certain tests which assert that a list of projects is show that the project with latest activity on top, which means any new project or any project which has certain updates, right, they will come on top. And then we have the show end projects only, which means we are looking at a pagination. So why don't we also get rid of oops these its as well, because that should do the trick. Okay. And yeah, so let's get started. I have Daisy UI. Okay. It obviously needs Tailwind CSS. So I will just look for Tailwind CSS first. Tailwind CSS. And yeah, get started with that. We'll go to the framework guide, Laravel, and then we have obviously done this. We'll go through this process. It is installing Tailwind post CSS and auto prefixer. That is something which we want, and let it happen while I'll just check if we have any comments or stuff in the chat. No, nothing yet. It's fine. That thing got installed. Then we will do npx Tailwind CSS init. What it will do is create these two files, obviously the tailwind config.js and post css config.js. So let's look at the tailwind file. Right, this is something which we get. Obviously, we will need to make certain changes in this. We will go through that. All right, so yeah, the first thing is configure your template paths. Basically, we are saying, or rather telling Tailwind CSS that this is where our template files are. So let's say if you are working with an inertia.js application, okay, you will have some JavaScript files, TSX files in this resources folder. So you should add that. If you're using React, JS is there. If you have Vue file, then obviously you will have Vue files, stuff like that. So you need to mention that. Otherwise, what happens is if you are writing any um, CSS classes, Tailwind will not understand it, and then the final version of the file which is created will not have those CSS classes. Now, I'm going to use blades and at some point use livewire. So I'm going to limit myself to only this first line. Okay, so it's an array, and then we have the first key, which is this. That should pretty much work for us. And then obviously we need to add these 3 directives to our app.css. So I'll just go to app.css file over here. And with that, I think this is done and we are ready for our npm run dev. So why don't we have a new terminal over here? This is running. And right, so in our application, we just need to, through the blade thing, so what is the blade.php file looking like? This is my home.blade. So over here, what I will do is get my app.css resource through it, and let's just see if we are able to get this hello world in our application. Okay, so I'll go to GitLab, not GitLab, like this one. Yes. Right, we have this thing which basically means that I am able to load the Tailwind CSS. This basic approach is working. Now let's quickly look at the web.php projects. I don't think I have any seeder. Oh no, I have. So yes, this is kind of working. However, this weird looking thing is still over here. I think once I have the Daisy UI, it will kind of get sorted. Okay, no messages yet, so we are fine. Right. So now let's look at how we can install the Daisy UI theme. Right, so installation. Let me get this. Okay. Yeah, this is done. Now, what they are saying us to do is inside our tailwind config.js, add this required Daisy UI as a plugin. So as I said, we will need to do that. And here I will go and add that. Now let's see. Yeah, there is some difference. This is a different skin. Okay. So a quick tip. I mean, Daisy UI comes with a list of themes. Okay. We have so many of them. And you can use multiple ones. What you can do is, see, in the HTML tag, you can add this thing. So inside home, no, it's not the doc type, but rather over here. Okay. So we have cupcake, and then obviously inside Daisy UI theme, this is an object where we need to define the stuff inside our Tailwind config. So let me do that. They're saying data theme, right? Inside, it's a Daisy UI is a direct thing, so I can just add it over here. Okay, the space is something which I need to fix. I think Um, right. So yeah, I have cupcake. Now, basically, if I refresh, right, see this is coming in a different color. Obviously, you won't realize it because right now I don't have too much stuff going on. But if I maybe if I do cyberpunk, oh wow, that's quite um, quite a thing on the eye. But yeah, I think you will realize that if I do something like what is the name? Sorry, this is cyberpunk, and then I just put it over here, and we have that same thing. Okay, so yeah, I mean you have options. You need to add that here, and then use whatever you feel is the one which you are willing to go with. I will use something called dark, obviously. Um, right now I'm yeah. So this is fine. We'll keep this as is, and so with that in place, I think we have our Daisy UI setup. Basically, they have this whole set of components which basically allows me to use them directly without worrying too much about the UI stuff. This is why I even liked Bootstrap, but then nowadays to create custom components and stuff, I always feel that GitLab, sorry, Tailwind is a better option. But with a UI package, I think this is really awesome, and this is for free as well. So, yeah. All right. So now, quickly, because we have our um, basic UI setup done, I'll just get rid of this. Why don't we fix this thing quickly? Okay, I'll just add a table and ensure that we are uh, so container and do this, right? MX auto, right? And then I have a div with px6 so that there's some padding in here, and right, I have margin top of 8 pixels so that it comes down a little bit. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we need to get a table over here. So we have our index.blade.php inside the projects, and I'll have a table. This is the only time I'll do a lot this kind of markup stuff, because yes, it is kind of taking time, and this is not something which ideally we should spend time kind of working on the live video. Doesn't really make sense, but rather what I will do is I'll just get the UI part done. It also allows me to spend time and do it properly because I'm not very good with these things. I have the major role of doing development, so I am not very comfortable with CSS stuff. So yeah, yeah, I think that that's about it. We are showing the name and the visibility, right? So we will just take that into picture and then do t body, um, tr td. Sorry. Okay, and then I have my for each loop come over here, tr, right? Tr, and then end for each. Okay, I can just copy this and then have state, sorry, visibility, and one more, which is the ID, project ID. And then I am sure we don't need any of these stuff. So we can get rid of this, and we have a basic table in place. Okay. So this is fine. And so now let's look at how we can get our, yeah, I think the pagination is also obviously working, but this is something strange. I need to see how I can fix that. I'm sure there was something kind of a config which would, you know, get this problem sorted out, but yeah, not something which I want to do right now. Let's look at the Saloon PHP's integration, because what we will have to do is see, uh, in terms of the GitLab's integration, the base path is this. Okay. So we have gitlab.example.com, and see, this is the project that I have created. It doesn't have any code as such, but we can use it for, the kind to create issues and comments and stuff, so that we are able to play around with it. Okay. So we will do that, and then the idea is we should be able to get these data points in our application. So yeah, we have our base path, and as I can see in the authentication, we have multiple ways of authenticating. So personal access token, project group access token, right? Let's look at that. So inside my header, if I do authorization bearer and your access token, okay, and I know it can take the personal access token over here. Yeah. With that, we are just fine. We just need to ensure that we send this as a header, and we should be able to authenticate ourselves and look at only our projects. So when I looked at the projects URL, I'll show you API responses. List all projects. And when I do that along with this, where is my flag? You'll see that in my thing called owned. Okay. So owned Boolean true. So limit by projects explicitly owned by the current user. So when I do that, what I can see is this list of projects that I have. Okay. So these are all my personal projects. They can be public, they can be private, but at least um, these are all my projects. Okay. And if I don't send that, what happens is you will basically get everything which is public. So there are projects which are not even related to us, right? So this particular thing, for example, is not something which we care about, and it will come up. Okay, this was not getting copied. Right. So this is some public project, obviously, that will come up if we don't send that flag. So we will do that. Okay. Right. So we have this. Let's see if we have any. Okay, we don't have anything over here, so fine, we can move ahead with that, with our video. So Saloon.php is something which we need to now install, because we will start the integration. So we need to install Saloon, and this will install the core composer package, but there is also the Laravel version, which is this, and obviously it has a dependency of the core package, so we can directly use this. And now things are ready. All right. I'll just get rid of this. I'll just try to put one commit, which is around the fact. Okay. Right. So we have this now, and Saloon PHP, what it does is it allows us to make API request through a very beautiful API, or using object-oriented approach. I have created multiple videos on Salon PHP in my channel, so if you want, you can explore them. My idea over here is that you know a little bit of Salon PHP, and I'm not going to do the basic stuff, but yes, while I'm doing it, you should be able to understand what is happening. Okay, now with Salon, we will first create a connector, because the way Salon works is you create a connector. The connector understands which API to connect, how to authenticate, and stuff around that. So we'll first do that. PHP Salon connector GitLab. Okay. And the connector name GitLab connector. And do you want OAuth authorization? No, definitely not. We are going to use the personal access token, so that's fine. Okay, and with that done, I think what will happen is if we go over here inside HTTP integrations, we will get a new thing called GitLab connector. So then we need to look at how we can configure this connector. So what the first thing that I will do is inside my resolve base URL, I'll have config gitlab dot base URL like so, and then we need to send the personal access token as an authorization header, right? So for that, I'll show you in the documentation. Um, pa, 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 pa. Authentication, basic auth, authorization, right? So what will happen is we need to add this method called default auth. Okay, so I'll just do that. It's like so. So I'll override default auth. Okay, and in here I need to return my services pat. Okay, and now we're just fine. Okay, why don't we do one thing instead of sending it like this, because later on we may choose to have users add their own personal access token over here. I will create a new file called GitLab service. It's a server, it's a PHP file, and the namespace will be services, GitLab file name, stuff around that. Okay. And we'll have a method over here called get access token. It will return a string. And what we are returning over here right? We will return here. So what will happen is later on, if we choose to, we can always look at the current authorized user and fetch the personal access token of that user and send it back. So that way, the connector is not kind of limited with the, or rather coupled with the implementation. And because we need the service, what we will do is we will inject it through the constructor. So we have a private read only GitLab service, GitLab service. Yeah, should be fine. And then we do this GitLab service, and I don't know if I need the constructor. Okay, I'll see. Otherwise, what I can do is I'll do an app make. Right. And this returns a new token authenticator. So default auth token authenticator is, this is fine. And how they are returning is new token authenticator. And the token. So this way it is able to get that. Okay. All right. And then I think generally our um, connector is ready. So why don't we try to create now a request for Saloon? So what happens is if we do that, then it will allow us to make that call. So we will make a request. We previously created a connector. Now we will do a request, GitLab fetch projects. And I'll add maybe a request to it as well. Okay. What should the Saloon request name be? Interesting. I think I made a mistake. Let's look at the help. Okay, so by default, it takes the integration and then the name. So what I will do is I'll just go with this. Integration name is GitLab, so it knows where to create it. And we'll have GitLab fetch projects request. So get request, okay? So with that in place, what should happen is, just a second, let me look at my YouTube thing. Yep, everything is fine and no comments, so completely fine. We will go to this request and set things up. So the URL is going to be projects. Now it will have certain default query parameters, okay? Because request, right? It needs to send certain requests. For example, owned equals true. And maybe we will also add a sort equals descending, right? So what we can do is, first of all, let's just say sort is descending and order by updated at. This may not change anything over here, but it just ensures that we will get the latest ones on top. Okay. Now, again, we will need to override a method which is called default query. How do I know that? Well, let's look at the documentation. We have sending requests. Is it here or no? I think it should be in the multipart URL encoded string stream body. Let me look at the documentation and understand how that is done. I always did it with the because I knew, but request, This is endpoint, default headers. I can do the config. Yes, this is the one, query parameters. So some APIs require query parameters to be sent. You can extend the default query method to provide these query parameters. So these are the default ones. If you want to send something where the data is kind of changing, we will handle that as well. But the default ones should be added like this. And then obviously, if you have something default, you can also override them through this method. For example, query, add, sort, provider, stuff like that. But yeah, we don't think it will change for us for this particular request. So in here, I think we need to return, right? Yeah, return an array. And we will just look at our postman to get those keys. That's true. Sort is descending and order by updated at. Okay, we're almost there. Um, how do we test it? Because ideally now the data should come. So let's see. If I do web.php, create a test route, this is how I like to play around with the stuff that I have just done, because ideally then we will write a test as well, which will obviously mock the data. So we cannot make a real API call inside our test. So we'll just see how data is coming. Okay. So connector is new, GitLab connector. Why is it complaining? Required parameter GitLab service, right. I think it will fail because I am not going to pass that service as a constructor argument. So maybe I'll just do an app make. Okay. So GitLab fetch project request and request equals. And what we will do is do a DD of request JSON or maybe array. There's also collect. I think that's fine. We'll use collect. Now let's see. Let's get ready to see an error. Yes, it will not work. So I'll go over here. And where are we using this? So we will do GitLab service equals app make GitLab service class. And we can just do this. And that basically means I can get rid of this, right? Now what? It says GitLab service could not be converted to string. That's a bit weird. App make is fine. Do we have a proper namespace? Yes, we do. Doing something basic, something wrong. Okay, return new object of class. Okay. Ah, my bad. Now it should work. Yes. Items array. And I have my first project over here, which is the sample GitLab project. Then I have home inertia. So this is all projects on my GitLab account, and we are able to get that. So the idea is now that our basic thing is working, and this is how we call. See this 3 lines of code and the entire HTTP call is taken care of, right? So this is how we will use it. I think this is kind of what we will try to do today because yeah, it's almost half an hour, and I think the tests will require some time, which we will not be able to finish today. So I'll create a separate video tomorrow, maybe, if I feel proper, fit enough to continue for more than half an hour, maybe. But yeah, we have some improvement in our overall thing. We are able to get the basic integration in place. It's although not the I'll not commit the web.php because that's not the proper code, but this piece we can just say that integration with GitLab using Saloon is done. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So thanks for watching this stream, and I hope this video helps you understand how this integration is working and how Saloon will help you. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.